I've always been a collector. I think we all have. We started with, baseball cards or whatever we collected when we were younger, marbles or whatever. But when you get older, I used to see them at the wrecking yard on the floor sometimes. I'd always see them at the swap meet, but nobody wanted them because it was like taboo. Like nobody, say if you had like this plaque here, and that was your enemy, you wouldn't want that plaque nowhere in your house, So most of them were destroyed. Back in the day when they would fight, they would usually put the plaque under the car. So when they had hydraulics, they'd drop the car right on it and just grind them down,
Los Angeles, California, home to some of the best tacos in the country and 4 million people packed across 500 square miles. A mecca for art, food, and culture. Of course, when most people think of LA, they think of movies and entertainment. But me, I think of history. I think of all the subcultures that call these streets home. And their stories are what I'm really interested in. They were the cowboys before the cowboys, the muralist before the muralists, the activist before the activists. I'm talking, of course, about Mexican Americans. Ostracized by both political parties, courted by both political parties, one would be hard-pressed to find a more, misunderstood demographic. And yet, 60% of all Latinos in the United States are of Mexican descent. That's 30 million people. But Mexican-American culture is complex. Over time, it has given birth to new subcultures, some of them even more misunderstood. Today, I'm on Whittier Boulevard to meet a man who's dedicated a good chunk of his life to preserving this history. That's a nice car. And explore what is perhaps the most misunderstood subculture of them all.
Hey, Brandon.
David.
What's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, man? How you doing? It's nice to see you. Lowriders. Meet Compton David. Known for some of the baddest lowriders and Chicano tattoos in LA, David has been in the streets of LA for decades. He was also a producer on the film Tattoo Nation. If anyone knows LA history, it's David. I hear you have some stuff to share with us.
I got some junk you can see.
All right, let's see it.
All right.
So these plaques right here on the wall.
They're all car club plaques. Majority of them are Lowrider car club plaques. I collect hot rod too, but I sold a lot of the hot rod, or I trade the hot rod ones for Lowrider ones because that's mainly what I'm into. Basically, the plaque is the heart and soul of the club. Back in the day, when they were fighting a lot, they would always try to steal your plaque. And basically, to take someone's plaque is like taking their girlfriend or something like that, So basically, it stands for who you are and what you're about, in your club.
What David is saying is lowriding is about more than just cars. It's a rite of passage. Born during World War II in the American Southwest, lowriding has a long history in the Mexican-American community. From art to fashion to activism, lowrider cars not only represent pride, family, and community, but cultural expression and, at times, even defiance. So the plaques in the old days were sandcasted.
Yes.
And the plaques nowadays are made how?
Laser.
Laser. Okay, so what's the difference between the two?
These are basically hand done, handmade. There's a process where they get they make a mold, and from the mold they use sand, and they pour brass. Most of them are brass. Some of them come in aluminum, like this one here. But originally they started in a square plaque like this. This is how they normally were back in the day.
Oh, wow.
And then as time went through, I think around the late 60s, early 70s, they transferred to this style. And all these here are all originals. So the meaning original, they're all foundry stamped from the 60s and 70s. So I don't collect reproductions. I usually sell those off or I trade them off. So all these here are all originals.
The airbrushed murals, the candy paint, the warm breeze that slaps you across the face when the hydraulic pump springs you high into the heavens. Nothing beats the excitement and attention you get when bouncing up and down the crowded boulevard in a swooped-up lowrider. A lot of cities claim to be the birthplace of lowriding. San Jose, Albuquerque, El Paso. But when it comes to sheer numbers, there is no ignoring the city of Los Angeles. Founded in 1781, Los Angeles began with only a handful of adobes. The valleys, indigenous. Within a century, however, Los Angeles would evolve into a sprawling metropolis. Mexicans, Armenians, Italians, the Japanese, the Irish, the Chinese, Croatians, Filipinos. It seems like everyone has had a hand in building Los Angeles at some point. And yet, it was Mexican Americans who would forever define the city's world-famous aesthetic. So jackets, you've got a rack full of jackets here. Tell me a little bit about these.
Okay, well, I'll start with the rarest. Probably the rarest thing to find would be a short sleeve sweatshirt. These are probably the hardest to find with embroidery chain stitch. You know, that's the old school way when they used chain stitch. This one here, this is super hard to get. Back in the 70s, early 70s, 71, 72, the car clubs, believe it or not, would compete and play football. So they would, play against each other for beer or money or whatever. I think the other probably hard one to find is anything women, like a women's club or a gang type one. This one I heard from a person that there's only 3 surviving women from the original club of this one here. And that's all chain stitch.
So like the early plaques, these were all handcrafted.
Handcrafted, yep. And chain stitch is like a lost trade. They don't do that anymore. Now everything is electronic, machined. You just push a button and the computer does all the sewing nowadays. But back here it was chain stitch. This one here is, I think, as far as like jackets go, some of the rarest are ones from San Pedro. Wasn't a big city, but anything from San Pedro is terribly hard to find. They didn't have too many, like a whole lot of clubs going on over there. Very desirable things to look for.
No, so is that also
chain stitch?
Okay.
That's all chain stitch. Yeah.
Wow, so a lot of these early
you could tell from the age. This is like a 50s one. You could tell from the age of it,
So this jacket is about 80 years old or almost? Yeah.
Yeah, it's about close to your age.
Seeing David's love for history reminds me of why it's so vital to preserve history, especially at a time when so many people are trying to erase history.
This is Teen Angel magazine. This was our pride and joy, This is where we used to share things and we'd see the artwork that we loved back in that time, you know.
It's some of the most distinct art that I've ever seen. There's a lot of contrast. There's a lot of detail. The level of detail, even in looking at these photos that you see, you just don't see that in a lot of other types of art.
Well, it portrays us how we were, you know, what a Chicano was, you know, the way we used to comb our hair back, the tattoos we had, women, you know, culture, you know, when it has the Aztec drawings, some of them are prison, like that's Folsom right there, the Folsom Tower. Back when they used to write envelopes, write home or whatever, they would always do drawings on it and stuff like that. Well, those things would get transferred everywhere, you know. And basically that's how some of these images came out from. Most of them came out from the prison system. I guess when you're locked up for so long, you get more creative and you can express yourself through images, you know. It's hard to express yourself when you're out here and everything going on in the world, you know, everything's distorted. But for some reason, when you're locked up, all this creativity comes to you, you know, and you start thinking, you know, and you're sober. Let's put it that way too, you know.
David's 1962 Impala has been featured on the cover of Lowrider magazine not once, but twice. The paint job alone took almost a year. In all, at least $100,000 worth of work has gone into restoring this beautiful piece of American history. But for people like David, it's not about the money. It's about the pride. It's about the details. It's about taking something that society once looked down on and turning it into something beautiful. It's about representing an entire community and defying the odds. And that's what making history is really all about.